down here in the bottom position as the red Terran, he is Josh Says Bye. Who does he say bye to? This guy up here in the top, looking for that black gold. Give it up for Oiltown. Okay, so let's talk about Romanticide a little bit here. Now, as you guys know, there are a couple of different expansion opportunities that a Zerg player can take, so let's focus on them real quick. We do have the more obvious option, the triangle pattern up here in the top, but we have seen some players decide to take this low ground expansion. Now, this is a risky move for the Zerg player, but it does have some benefits because it will allow you to have a much more forward reinforcement point. It can be very easy. It will allow the creep spread much quicker, and it opens up the ability to have just a safer third base location later on in the game. Now, a Terran, if he does see that low ground position, that is going to ring some alarm bells, and he might just decide to go even more aggressive once seeing that, because he doesn't want to really let that go up for too long. But right now, Josh did skip the Reaper, instead just sending this SCV out to kind of scout around, see if that third base is going down. And he will get confirmation on that. While back at home, he's just going to be pumping out Marines. Also, thank you, Chance Gould, for the follow. Or awesome, my man. Okay, I actually like this. This is essentially a modified 2-1-1 kind of deal, as we have that second Rax coming on down. Where's he going with the factory? Is he just looking for the Overlord? No, he just sent it a little bit too far out. But basically what this allows him to do is it allows him to get his upgrades very, very quickly. So he will have stim. He'll have a huge count of Marines, and from this he will have the factory. So this Hellbat timing will hit a little bit later, but it'll be so much more powerful. Gonna actually be pretty important for Oiltown to see this. So sitting this Overlord in is going to really kind of ring those alarm bells off. Basically, he's gonna have to throw down some. He's gonna have to throw down either a Baneling Nest or a Roach Warren to help defend, but he's really got to do that soon. Might not even see it if these Marines have their way, but just seeing that many Marines early on can be a little bit of a tell as well. There. Yeah, he's kind of just trying to sell the fact that these Hellions are out on the map, so a good pick off there by Oiltown. I feel like this is just a little bit of a mistake for JoshSaysBye, because now his attack is going to be a lot weaker with only 4 Hellions. But there you go. Got the Lair on the way. We've got the Baneling Nest coming down. He should throw down his Evo Chambers as well, because with this, you do have one big trade-off as the Terran player. You don't have your upgrades started, so you will not have 1-1 for a little bit longer. So if you can kind of hit them with that +1, as the Zerg player, you will be able to absolutely decimate this. Armory is on the way. The medevacs are as well. The Oiltown kind of just opening up a couple of different attack paths just to make sure that he can go for a surround if necessary, as the Hellions gonna get right into position. There we go. Gonna move out as soon as those medevacs are just about to complete. Welcome, welcome. I'm ped in my pants. Yeah, Oiltown. See if he can do it. He does have a deficit in the army supply, and he's actually taking a couple of gratuitous hits on his supply. The Banelings as well not going to be able to morph in time, so the Queens are going to have to come down to help. One of them falling very quickly, but the Lings get absolutely decimated. The Banelings listlessly in the back. This looks like the splits are pretty good as well. Those Stim Marines just doing so much, and now this mineral line is forfeit. Oh my goodness. I don't think this could have gone worse for Oiltown, but he did only lose 6 workers. I feel like Josh could have actually gotten more if he would have just gone down to where the drones are and focus fired them in. There wasn't really anything stopping him from doing so. So just a slight mistake there, but he's still all over this Zerg player. Gonna get out of there as soon as that Hellbat goes down. A bit of a mistake to lose those last bunch of Marines, but he already has his second attack coming in with the Widow Mines going straight for the main base. And you know what? Oiltown is not in position to deal with this. He will have that +1, which will help him in the fight. So he's going to have to get pulled away. Might want to focus fire down the Spire. If he gets that, then that's almost game winning here. He gets the cancel. And a huge Widowmine connection. This is just going from bad to worse for Oiltown. While he's not taking a ton of drone damage, he's consistently being forced to remake that army, so he's not going to be able to get up to that 80 to 90 worker count that he would probably prefer. And Josh is really just keeping the pressure coming. He will have +1 soon, very, very soon. The Banelings, though, is going to make him think twice. Did he get combat shields? Okay, I was really worried for a second that he probably didn't get that. At the Widow don't have any detection for them. The Overseer only just now popping. As we see the main army getting punched back. He will get surrounded. The medevacs are not there to help. It's like one drone did get pulled off there, but the Queen was the focus of its fire. So now from here, you know, Josh has made a couple of small errors in those fights. He hasn't really taken the best of engagements, which has allowed Oiltown to kind of come back and stabilize. He's got his 4th base up in mining. His 5th base is, you know, almost complete. As soon as that comes in, I think he'll just kind of get that explosion, and his hive will be starting very soon as well. Yeah, that mine, though. You got a couple of additional shots right there. Remember, he does need the Overseer to actually kill that, but he is out of position as Josh stimming up the ramp, looking for any damage that he can get. Focus firing down the hatchery. He will have to retreat before the Banelings come back in. Oh, looks like he's actually just doing a really sick move and sacrificing the Marines to the Banelings in order to get that count down. Small drop in the main base, going to go straight for the infestation pit, but that will survive. Just action all over the place. Josh is trying to do so much. Oh my goodness, the drones as well. Going down to the Widow Mines, hanging out there in the transfer path. Josh is just everywhere. Really a fan of this kind of Beyond-esque style. So the big problem for him right now, though, is that Oiltown still has a huge army that he is going to be looking to close things out right now. He recognizes his position. The Banelings not going to be fighting together, but the Widowmines actually going to do a little bit of friendly fire as the Overseer comes in and swarms all over this. The supply is starting to plummet, but the Marines aren't going to be doing the best versus the Hydralisks. Looks like the reinforcements in the Marauders, though, will be enough to close this one out. As the Oiltown, his supply has plummeted. Kind of taking a look at that fight. Josh taking it overwhelmingly. You know, from here, Josh has his 4th base up and mining. His 5th base is on the way. He's staying ahead in the worker count, just taking a look at that income advantage, which is so huge. And until Oiltown gets his +3 and this adrenal glands, he's going to be at a little bit of an upgrade deficit. Beautiful connection on the Widow Mine as well. Looks like the Banelings are going to be able to get on top of this. The repair not coming in. Trying to focus fire that down. He will get it. Josh being a little bit indecisive on what he wants to do with his armies. Looks like there won't be any detection for these Overseers anytime soon. Gonna get the Evo Chambers. Oh my goodness. That's actually a huge deal. It'd be funny if he just got all these Overlords as well. That would be hilarious because you would literally be supply blocked into the next century. But GG is called. Just a little bit too much pressure in the kitchen. The Oiltown will tap out. But you know what? You know, he did stabilize pretty well. It's just that consistent issue of the consistent aggression from Josh that kind of cut him down in his prime in that one. Gonna be going on to Death Aura, our next one. Okay, so I know we got some Oiltown fans in the chat. So, what do you guys think about his chances in this series after seeing that first game? Are we going to see a comeback? Stick around to find out as we are going to be tuning in to game number 2 as soon as the loading screen drops. Right. Are in game spawning. Down here in the bottom position, he is JoshSaysBye. And he certainly did say goodbye in that last game. Let's see if he can keep it up because this is a well-oiled machine. That's right. It's Oiltown. So, Death Aura. There are a lot of good siege positions on this map. You know, you do have a lot of paths broken down by the rocks, which is really good for siege tanks looking for a position to kind of set up. So if Josh wanted to go for that kind of push, he would be able to do so quite well, especially down here on these kind of ramps. You see a lot of players just decide to utilize that to their advantage, as we do see, looks like it is going to be a Reaper this time. Just wants to make sure that he stays very well informed on the scout. So he is going to get a good scout out in the main base, sees the natural timing, and knows that, you know what, there is nothing coming across the map just yet. I am safe. I am secure. Now, one thing that he hasn't seen third base just yet, he is scouting around for it, and I'm gotta be a little bit worried that he might misinterpret the fact that there isn't one, or there's some sort of two-base aggression, especially since he is just using the Reaper to kind of be a nuisance out here in the front. Good pullback by Oil. I think the way it was explained to me is that if you make 4-lings, you're expecting to lose none of them. If you make 6-lings, you're expecting to lose a couple here or there. Or exactly the opposite, I can't remember. As 1-ling does go down, good KD8 charge. Gets right on top of the third base as well. Just going to be focus firing that for a second. I don't think the Queens really are paying attention. And behind this, we do have 3CC coming on in. So this is an aggressive macro build. It allows you to stay relatively equal to your Zerg opponent and really just get to that powered up war machine of a 3-base Terran very, very quickly. And off the back of it, you really don't sacrifice any sort of timings in order to make it work. If you wanted to go for Hellbats, you can do that quite easily. If you wanted to go for not necessarily a 2-1-1, but something similar to a 2-1-1, you can do that quite well as well. And you can also not really sacrifice your upgrade timings, as you can still get the engineering bay, you can still start the 1-1. Stim, not going to be delayed by it. So yeah, it's just really solid. The Hellions as well, just kind of hanging around, doing what they can. We do see a small run by, going to be going in, seeing if the wall is done. Like he did get wind that this is coming, so he will block that off. But now Oiltown really does need to understand that this is indeed the case. As you can see, hasn't been into Josh's base at all, so he hasn't seen this. Once you see it, it becomes much more manageable. Okay, Banshees. Well, like Oil will be going for this safety Bane nest. He's seen the amount of Hellions, but he shouldn't worry too much because there isn't an armory out on the field. I do think that it would be a good idea to keep these Hellions alive, maybe just kind of poke the front and not really overextend, because in doing so, you set up for a much more powerful attack. And hold that thought, as the Ling is going to get the wraparound. 3 of them will go down, but the rest of them will survive. Oiltown disengaging. Live to fight another day, as the second Banshee gets finished when there was already a first. Yeah, there you go. Two Banshees going to be coming out. They will be able to sync up their shots and go straight for the mineral lines. As we see Josh kind of just powering up. He still hasn't taken his third base. Probably just waiting for his army count to get a little bit bigger in order to do so. But nice. This is great, actually. Cleaning up a lot of that creep is good. He did reveal the Banshees in doing so. But I don't think that's as big of a deal because the Overseers are not in position just yet. Good Transfuse going to keep those alive. Focus firing down the Banelings would be really nice. But it looks like Josh gets trapped by the Lings. All the Hellions will fall, and now the Banshees have to decide not to engage into this. He will lose one of them. Just kind of small mistakes here and there for Josh in this game. Now, remember, in the previous game, we did see Josh get that snipe on the Spire, which kind of just forced the transition out of Oiltown into that Hydra-based army, which really didn't do too well for him. This time, however, the Spire will go up, and he will be able to utilize the Mutalisks on the other side of the field. And I feel like now he's kind of playing his own game. While he is taking damage, he is defending it without losing too much. And that's just really allowing him to be a little bit more comfortable as the game goes on. Might get the Spore Crawler here. Focus firing that down would be lovely. That will finish up. As Josh makes his way in, the Widowmine's going to be used to make sure he doesn't get surrounded. We do see a small Ling run by, going to be going in. 3 kills on that Widowmine. Reinforcements should be enough to clean that up, but already losing 18 workers. A little bit slow on the pickup as well, going to make it out with only 4. So beautiful moves by Oiltown. That's even before the mutas come out. I'd like to see there. Yeah, Oiltown getting quite a bit of value out of these Lings. Like he is going to get the Widow Mines as well. Just going to try and weaken this attack as much as possible. The mutas have popped, and they're going to be heading to the bottom of the map. But Josh will be heading to the top. Like 2 ships passing in the night. As Josh really doesn't have enough to defend this 4th base. Those Marines will go down. What does Oiltown have back at home? He's got the Banelings morphing on in. The mutas as well will just keep the reinforcements at home. Josh realizes this is his moment to strike. He will get a kill on the base. Back out. The Widowmines will do some friendly fire damage, and he will try and get out of there with what he can. Only 1 full medevac. 2 more going with only 1 occupant as the Banshee getting some additional kills. 13 of them to be precise. I gotta say, this is the kind of game I love from TvZ. It is scrappy. They're trading out units almost everywhere. But the problem for Josh is that he's falling behind in terms of that supply. And I think Oiltown just going to start to take advantage of that fact. Press his advantage off the creep. Yeah, Josh, maybe a little bit too aggressive out here. He will get caught in the surround, the Banelings. Oh my goodness, the Widowmine actually didn't go off. Yeah. Wall is down. I don't even think the Widow Mines can save you, as his production is completely camped. We probably will see the tap out here. I gotta say, good micro from Josh, just trying to keep those Marines alive for as long as possible, but his economy is in shambles, 70 to 24. And even if he does hold on, like, what is he going to reinforce with? His opponent is going to be on equal upgrades very soon. He's got 6 more mutas on the way. And you have not done any counter damage to kind of slow him down. Yeah, even then, he's being a little bit too aggressive. You can kind of see he's running out of energy on those medevacs. So those red and yellow Marines are going to get darker and darker as he gets more energy. Oiltown as well just has full map presence. Keeping the pressure off his side of the map. +2 just about finished in 5, 4, done. And that's going to be the catalyst for this last big attack. As long as he doesn't take too many bad Widowmine shots, he is going to be able to close this one out. The mutas, though, they're flying around. Their numbers haven't been as scary as I'm sure Oiltown would like, because he is trading them out. Oh my goodness, the Widowmines giving me a heart attack right there. They had Burrowing Claws, and that would have been it for that Mutaball. But here we go. Oil looking for the engagement of a lifetime. First couple of Banelings will connect to the Marines, but that will force him to disengage. Doesn't want to throw himself to the Wolves. You know what? One thing to note here is that Oiltown hasn't expanded off the back of it, like, at all. He's really trying his darndest to kill his opponents, so, you know, it's a very, very, very long shot. But if Josh can find a good engagement and get some good Widowmine connections, he might be able to come back into it. And actually, that's the start of things. 2 beautiful Widowmines going on down, getting 5 muta kills, and the army is actually going to catch this. Oh my gosh, that's the start of a comeback right there. Gan going to reveal that there is no expansion. He's going to catch the drones as they transfer over. Got to be careful. Josh, get behind the Marauders. Yeah, not really getting the best splits. Reinforcements are going to be coming in. The Mutaball, again, is just gone, so these medevacs will be able to come out. But Josh, again, he's below 100 supply. I keep trying to hype him up. I think this might be the last-ditch effort. This is his army going down with the last of his economy. Okay, good. A good pickup right there. Oiltown trying to get on top of the economy, or the production. And he's actually taking not the best engagement. The Banelings, though, 22 additional workers coming in to death. Josh below 50 supply now. Oh my gosh, he's holding on barely each time, but every single time Oiltown just gets further and further ahead. Yeah, rip mutas 2021. You know what? I played Terran. They weren't taken soon enough. You know what? The army is out positioned, so he is going to lose this base. I don't even think Josh really needs to take this fight, and indeed, he does take quite a bit of damage to the Bane. Some good pickups, though. But the good pickups, they're going to help out. The wall has been lifted. So this little middle run by, not going to get too much else. It is a very good day to be a Widow Mine. First IEM and now this. Oof, at the very last second, getting the wall. Josh, I gotta say, he is giving a nail bite of a series. He is fighting his heart out. As, you know, again, he really doesn't have a lot, but... Oh, okay. 7 workers. 7 workers. Oh my goodness. And you know what? The one thing I gotta say for Oiltown right now is that he's giving Josh all these chances to get back into it by not really being aggressive in his expansions. Just making things. He's not getting any additional Mutalisks to try and rebuild that count, which just allows Josh to kind of disengage where he wants to. You know, even these run-bys, he's throwing away quite a bit of them, which does keep the army at home, but that's exactly where Oiltown is trying to be. All the Lings trying to get a wraparound. Josh is getting some decent splits, but he does get surrounded. The last-minute pickup's going to save what he can. The SEVs, though, those are going to go down again. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So, Josh will be able to get a kill on all of these Banelings. Beautiful. That's going to make the next couple of fights a little bit better for him. But he's just getting starved out. I don't know how many more of these trades he can take, especially getting surrounded like this again. He hasn't really been getting his pre-splits done. And you know what? That's his army dead. I think we should be seeing the tap out here. GG. They're tied up 1 apiece. Josh, though, making a good series of it. I'm impressed with how long he held on for. But just no counter damage. No drops like in the game number 1. Just really caused so many issues. Next map, though, is Submarine. So with Submarine, there are, you know, there's a lot of places that you can go. There's a lot of paths, drops and such. A lot of players do say that they enjoy it as a Terran player. I've like every time. Fun fact, guys, by the way, if you see Bjorn play, he does a lot of the Alpha X SE2 events, and every single time it's loser's choice. Like if he goes down in game number 1 or game number 2, then he will always, without fail, pick Submarine as his first map. And that's saying something of how confident Terran players can be on this one. Just this, put this there, carry the 1. Spawning up here in the top. He is our red Terran for the 3rd time today. Josh says bye. And his opponent in the bottom, Oiltown. Now, my big question is this going to prompt a little bit more aggression out of either of these sides? They've kind of seen how the quote-unquote late game is going to go for either side. It's going to be a lot of kind of just mid-tier units battling. They're not really going to transition, I believe. That's kind of the emphasis that we can put on it. So that kind of tells me that you're going to want to, as both sides actually, force those kind of fights that are just very aggressive. Because otherwise, you know, your opponent might change it up and they might actually get to a late game. Now, Josh did get the scout around. He knows that it's not cheese. No cheddar. Come away. Now he's just going to kind of block that third base for a little bit. See that it's not coming down as the Reaper comes across to be a little bit of a nuisance. Just a small one, though. Ooh. All right. Roaches. Now, as you guys know, roaches are the kind of thing that you would hate to see this early on as a Terran player. So Josh really does need to get into the main base and give that a little look-see, as the big indicator here is the fact that Oiltown is still mining gas, so you don't even need to see the roach warren to know something's up. He actually went double Reaper. That's actually pretty interesting as well. I think that delayed his factory a little bit, as he's going for, once again, kind of the same thing as game number 1, that modified 2-1-1. Got the third CC as well. That's, oh my goodness. I hate to say that this has the potential to be a build order loss, but I don't know if Josh has seen it just yet. He probably saw the roaches pop, and so that's why he's going home. He's building that bunker in the front. But right now, you need to stop Hellion production. You need to either get siege tanks, maybe a cyclone to deal with the overlord that's giving the high ground vision. You just really need different than what you have. Oh man. Barely misses that other roach. He now sees it and he knows what kind of trouble he's in. A little bit late, as he's going to get a surround on the bunker. That will go down very, very quickly. SCVs are pulled to try and mitigate the damage. The Biles are going to be able to force a lot of this back. The Hellions wailing away on the Ravagers. I think that's a good call. This will start to fall, actually. So, Oiltown not really getting all the damage that he would necessarily want. One Roach is taking it like a champ, but even he will go down. So 4 workers is the final tally. But for that, you have slowed your economy down so heavily that I don't know if you're going to be able to recover quickly enough for a 3-base Terran. The Hellions as well going to be coming in, getting a couple of kills of their own. Sees the fact that that 3rd base is not fully saturated. That's pretty much telling him all he needs to know about his space in the game. Now we do see him prepping for a big push. He's got the siege tank production well underway. As you guys know, roaches, they just don't scale as effectively as you might like versus the bio, especially as the upgrades start to really kick in. You know what? Josh is going to try and take advantage of that. Take advantage of the fact that that roach count is pretty low as well. I think these are the only roaches on the field. So they're going to have to fight against 2 full medevacs without any sort of +1, without anything like that, as the Reaper just going to come in and get the final little look-see-do. So now Josh really just has to keep these out on the map to make sure that Oil stays honest, but Oil should start to grow in that roach count pretty soon. Gonna have a couple of windows, a couple of timings that he can hit in order to overpower his opponent. But one thing that he can do, and I really hope he does decide to do this, is use the roaches to go up to a faster hive. I think that's kind of the best option for you with this style. He's going to try and fight what they can. One will be left behind, but he knows he can't fight that with that few units. +1 upgrades, relatively equal for both sides, and Marauder count, non-existent. I like reinforcing the wall. That's going to funnel in these units to one side, and I like how he's clearing up the creep. That's even more important when you're going against roaches. But I'm kind of just waiting for him to, you know, go for a much more consolidated push. Looks like Oil is going to beat him to the punch, though, in that regard. Takes some huge pot shots on the bottom. Not even going to get the siege tank for those vials. The SCVs are going to be pulled away from this. A little bit of a mismanagement, I'd have to say, from Oil, but he's still going to be able to kind of poke away at this position. Maybe try and get the third, which will eventually lift off. Does have a small drop going to be coming down here, keeping a lot of those roaches back at home. Supply people's going down is going to supply block quite heavily Josh, but he is absolutely everywhere. Going to be able to kill off the queen, so he will be able to leave whenever he chooses to do so. Now he is going to be able to force the roaches away. Oh my goodness, just action everywhere, and now he's actually able to get on top of the drones. Yeah, just a little bit of ring around the rosy. Pocket full of dead mineral line. As he will finally clean that up 26 workers later. Just taking a look at that battle report. Even though Josh got a little bit more for it, you know, it's kind of what he's losing. That's the big problem. Now, once again, Oil kind of feeling the sting, so he will be able to get on top of this. The siege tanks, a little bit unfortunate that they were not sieged. So now it's just going to be the Marines trying to fight this and inching his way forward with the tanks. That means Josh is not mining off this base. That means that his income is going to be in the garbage. And you know what? He didn't kill the 4th base of Oiltown that is now morphing in. He killed it once, but it's already going to be up, and you don't really have the ability to push out and do anything about it. Now Oiltown just kind of posturing right now, he doesn't have to take this fight, but just keeping these units out here is going to make sure that Josh doesn't send out any additional drops. That's all he really has to do. And it looks like Oiltown is actually just going to pull the trigger. The siege tanks wailing away on these roaches. The Marines right on top of the Ravagers. Those will fall, and that was a bit of a bad engagement for Oiltown. For Josh, what does this mean? It means he can send those drops out without delay. And he is gonna do so. Is there a hive on the way? No, there's not even +2. So these +1 roaches are going to just absolutely melt once 2-2 finishes. This is kind of the problem that I was mentioning for these players. They're not really playing to the late game. Josh is getting his upgrades. He's getting that +1 for the tanks, but only just now is +2 starting for Oiltown. He could have had a hive by now and been a lot safer, but he will lose this base. He's going to try and get in here, but the siege tanks are still at home. 20 workers going down. Oof, I feel like this is kind of the pincer move that really is going to seal the deal. You know, he's focusing a lot on getting these drops into the different bases, but I think if he just brought everything, he would be able to clean house. Oof. Lifting up, though. Small mistake from Josh. He will lose one full medevac. Yeah, there we go. The siege tank's going to finally be brought in. Oiltown with one last-ditch push here. I think his one opportunity was getting this done before the siege tanks siege up, but now that they are wailing away in the backfield, he doesn't get the base, and I think that's GG. Josh going up to match point. He's playing a very solid series. Oiltown just really, you know, he was able to do so well in that game number 2 because he just slowly and surely cut him down by death by 1,000 cuts. But once the drops start, it's just the problem. Taking too much damage before the main fight even begins. So for map number 4, Lightshade is bothering me all day. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. We've got the ready from both sides. So make sure you guys in the chat are sending your energy for the potential last game of the semifinals. We will be doing the finals right after this one. Psystorm is just hanging out, ready to go, I'd imagine. You're good to go, good to go. Buttons. You hit the wrong button and everything dies on you. But spawning down here in the top, he is JoshSaysBye. And I saw you Oiltown fans in the chat. Make sure you give it up for this guy here in the teal. He is Oiltown. Once again, just kind of sending that first SCV. This is the safety SCV, just making sure that it was not pool first. That's kind of the only purpose of it. You know, it will look for the third base, which is okay. You can look for the third base all you want, but until that first Reaper gets over, you're not going to see one. There you go. He gets the timing on that. Sees the pool is just now starting. Gonna feel safe to send that Reaper across the map. Now, one thing I gotta say is, I don't like how he keeps the SCV here. It's kind of outlived its purpose once the Reaper starts to come across the map. You really don't want to keep it out because that's income that you could be having back at home. And I know 5 minerals doesn't seem like a lot, but at this stage in the game, every single mineral counts. And it looks like he is actually going to get a cancel on this third base. Beautiful snipe there by the Reaper. KDA charge going behind him. Like a really good pullback from the Lings. Just going to keep those alive as he drops that first. But now he is a little bit delayed in terms of getting that third base. So his build is going to be a little bit slower. You know what? Oiltown seems like a really solid macro player in terms of... I think he'll be able to recover. Two Reapers kind of just flying around. They will they'll go on home. You do want to keep them alive for a little bit of more information. Maybe just sack them a little bit on. There you go, Edmonton for the win. Haven't been up there yet. I only made it as far as Winnipeg and Montreal, but I think Edmonton's a pretty cool town. So one big difference in this one as well is that while he is going for that kind of similar, excuse me, never mind. So he's going for the same thing that he's kind of been going for in the past couple of games. If it isn't broke, don't fix it kind of deal. And this time, I think he will be very happy with the positioning of this third base down here on the low ground, because it's going to allow him kind of freedom to roam around. The Lings as well won't be able to get the surrounds as easily. Has he scouted? A little bit too conservative with that Overlord. Will not see this coming. Like, trying to set up for this round, but Josh not gonna fall for it. Actually gets a couple of really good connections on those Lings. If he can keep that count nice and low, then that's gonna make this push much more powerful. And the armory is completing. The starport is almost done. At this point, you know, I don't think you wait for medevacs. I think you go and then add on the medevacs a little bit later, but hold that thought as the Hellions gonna get surrounded. The KD charges going to save a couple, but it looks like Josh is just gonna fight that. Takes out quite a few of those Lings. So now Oiltown is gonna have to remake those. Does he have the economy to do so? And drone up behind it is the big question. He still doesn't know about this big attack. It's kind of just patiently waiting for the medevacs. I think it's not the best option to do so, because what this has allowed is for centrifugal hooks to finish up. Now he's actually going to just get that full surround. So really just not sloppy, but a little bit uncoordinated there with his positioning on those Hellions. And that means that it is just going to be pretty much a late 2-1-1. Even then, he's going to be very cautious about moving in, it looks like. Him and a liftoff as the Hydra Den is going to be coming down. So that's a pretty good reaction, as Josh is going to be going for Widow Mines, it looks like. He's got a couple out on the field. You don't want to say that you desperately need siege tanks, but they're just so much better for dealing with this composition. Joey's going to be stimming in once again. Gets an Overlord supply blocking Oiltown. Getting on out of there. Oh, that's why he's named Oiltown, because the Edmonton Oilers. I literally just realized that. Okay, good yoink right there. Going to keep these Lings alive. They will be able to clean up some of the reinforcements. It looks like Oil is just kind of... You know, he's looking like he wants to smell that blood in the water. He wants to force the issue before realizing that's a really bad idea and backing off, waiting for the Hydras to pop. Okay, he's building a tech lab. Good, good. On this side, we've got the rotation coming down here to the bottom, but that creep is very far forward, making sure that he has an advanced warning system of this attack. Like drilling claws is on the way, but as well getting +1 ground weapons. Okay, double factory. He recognizes that he needs the siege tanks, and so he's just kind of trying to play catch up here with his production. Doing that, the Widowmine getting a really good connection right there as well. Josh, his supply has plummeted very, very far. Now Oil just going to be trying to push the issue. Has to be careful up this ramp. So what am I going to get some good connections on the Hydralis? There's not that many Banelings left. They got caught behind the Hydras. Oh my goodness, that was about as bad as it could get for Oiltown. He's not dead by any stretch of the imagination. He's your brother. Oh, that's really cool, man. I hope he really does well. Like, he's definitely fought hard to get to this point, and he is ahead in this game. Just got to be careful not to take too many more engagements like this. I like this run by, though. Going to get plenty of these transitioning SCVs and going to force Josh into an uncomfortable position, pulling his army around the map. No overload for you. So a little bit far forward with these siege tanks at the top there. Looks like we do have a pretty big attack coming down here from the bottom. We do see at the top a little bit of a drop coming on in as well. A little bit of move micro mistake. We'll get the pickup. The Hydras will clean up one of the medevacs. That second one will go down if he's not careful. See what else here. Hive on the way. A +2 upgrade, so he should be getting his +3 soon. I do think Josh needs his +3 upgrades. He's kind of forgotten about them in order to get those siege tank count nice and high. Caught into a little bit of a corner. Those banelings getting closer and closer to those juicy Marines. Oiltown has broken the third base. And what does Josh really have to deflect this? The answer is not a lot. Like, look at that. He just lost all those siege tanks sieged up. Not having to pull back all of his drops back at home. But Oiltown is getting ready for the final engagement. The banelings rolling on in. And GG is called. So, guys, we are on to the ace match. Oh my goodness, fighting his heart out since 2010. Honestly, that makes sense with how well he played that last one. Let us get this lobby good to go because we are going on to Jagannatha for our last map of this semifinals. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in so far. It has been a pleasure seeing you all. Don't worry, we still have a lot of good StarCraft 2 left to come with that finals. Looks like Oiltown just needs a second breathe after that last one. We'll give that to him. While we're waiting, guys, how about I show you yeah, Reno page. We don't have time. He came back up. All right, just got the last go-go. Thought we would have a second there, but it's all good. Make sure you do check out the Max Torino page. Let me actually update the command for that one. If you use the code 2021 Contender 1, a little bit of a mouthful, you will add 50 cents to the prize pool for the low price of free. Come on. Buttons not working. There we go. But anyway, I digress on that one. Let us introduce these absolute legends spawning up here in the top of Jagannatha. Give it up for JoshSaysBye. Gotta be careful or else we'll be saying goodbye to him versus this guy down here in the bottom. He is Oiltown. Now, a lot of people do say Jagannatha has a little bit of a Zerg tint to it just because it is very large. It's very spread out, which allows that creep to kind of proliferate all over the place. But at the same time, it has these acceleration zones heading straight down the middle. So you do have that really good ability to get that short rush distance that you would get on, say, Death Aura or Romanticide. I think it's the third-ish shortest rush distance in the pool right now. I'd have to check page for that. I digress, as we got that Reaper going to be coming in. The natural has been planted. He's already seen the fact that this is just going to be a standard opening for Oiltown. And if he wants to, he can kind of deny that third base. As you kind of see, he's trying to do that, but Oiltown just instantly drops it down in a different location. Even going to beat that Reaper. Got a 2-1-1 on the way. A little bit more straight up this time, I think, as we will have Stim come on in. One drone. Pretty nice pickoff. But yeah, this is a little bit more of a standard 2-on-1, I'd imagine, because the racks came down before the factory. The code, Jacob, is 2021 Contender 1. It's actually right there on the page as well, so get it. Josh is going to be able to come in here, just do a little bit of work to that first. And that first queen will have to shoo them away. I don't think he's actually going to kill that third base. If he does, be very, very sad. Off the back of this, it's going to be that Hellbat timing that we saw in game number 1. I think he just needs to keep the Hellions alive this time, because that's been his whole problem. He has been sacrificing the Hellions way too early, and that's just made it so that his next big push was completely and utterly decimated. He will get the creep tumor right there, which is nice. Now he's playing with fire, and this time Oiltown has a full scout. Like, there's no hesitation. He's gonna have his lair. He's gonna start those banelings, I'd imagine, soon, which he does. He's gonna be safe. Off the back of this, Josh kind of does delay the push for that starport to come down, and that's only just now started. So if he really just gives this room to Oiltown to grow, to expand, to get his upgrades nice and cleanly, and he's going to be in a world of hurt. Like that SCV trying to get back to the mineral line. Are not enough lings for this round. Be content to try and keep him off the creep now as he's droning up to about 55 this time. I like how conservative he's being in this game. Have his upgrades be coming on in, and this attack is about to start. Does he have the armory? It looks like the answer to that is no. So these are not going to be able to be Hellbats, but they still will be able to get some good pot shots off on the Banes in the back to save the Marines. Problem for Oiltown is he doesn't know that that armory is not complete. He's going to be very careful right now. The Marines trying to get surrounded. The Baneling's getting a really good connection, and that is a solid hold for Oiltown. A little bit of a misplay right there. I feel like this series has the players kind of beating themselves a little bit because we see those kind of engagements so many times. Now, Josh has pretty much lost all of his map presence. 4 Marines and 2 badly bruised Hellions is not going to be enough to really exert versus this number of Lings and Banes. So he's kind of just ceded the map entirely to Oiltown right now. Get right on top of the reinforcements. Realizes that's a mistake. Got Spire on the way, and we saw how good his Muta control kind of was. Have to keep an eye out for that. He's got enough back at home in case the drop play is going to start, but it looks like Josh is just going to be content to walk across the map. Creep spread, though, is, you know, for Zerg, beautiful, as he has full vision over every single angle that Josh can really come in from the front. Changeling as well. Josh kind of just trying to find a 5th snipe. He catches the mutas. Or rather, the mutas catch him. 1 full medevac will go down. The second will retreat half empty. Now that's going to prompt Josh to be forced to stay home even harder than he already is. Those siege tanks, I'm a little bit worried about their positioning outside of the wall. And the fact that he's still kind of making them right now. Catches full wind of this. Josh really has to fight within siege tank range, so I don't think he should go out too much further. Use the terrain to your advantage, I always say. You know, it's really doing a good job of kind of just forcing the Marines to poke around, try and stop them. You see the Lings kind of just looking for that open angle. They're going to take some huge connections. That's a lot of Banelings, but they can't survive under this conditions. Will be a timing here for Josh to have +2. It looks like he's not going to wait for it. He's instead going to try and force the fight just before it begins so that it'll complete during the fight. Needles, however, are going to go unchecked in the sky. That number is humongous while it gets Drilling Claws denied. 15 workers going down, and now the situation is getting more and more dire as time goes on for Josh. As he loses that economy, he really doesn't have the mule count to sustain himself. Honestly, with the Hive, This is still a very heavy Marine army. We don't really see any Marauder buffer, which is going to prompt Oiltown to go for his big strike. The Banelings cleaning up a good majority of the siege tanks, but there is still so many Marines left over. That was not the best engagement, but he is still up for 30 supply. Taking a look at that battle report, it was actually completely even. Oh my goodness. But Oiltown is still going to be able to clean up a lot of these reinforcements and force Josh to come on home. No Thors, no Widow Mines, literally just Marines at this point. And the Mutas can just fight this straight up before the reinforcements come in. And now he can rotate between two locations. Oh my gosh. Yeah, at this point, you almost have to go as Josh. Go do some counter damage. Send a drop out while the Mutas are in your own base. Just do anything that you can, because he is getting torn apart. Has to be careful not to go too far up that ramp, however. He lost quite a few Banelings. But yeah, Josh's options are really closing down right now. Every single second that this goes on. Will there ever be drilling claws in this game? The answer is more than likely no. As Josh really kind of trying to cut corners, not building any missile turrets. We'll get one Widowmine connection. That's not enough to clean it up. That Overseer will pop like a balloon, though. If he can get that other one, that's going to be his best chance to come back into it. He just needs some really good Widowmine connections, and we've already seen them in this series. He just needs one more try. And now he is on to the first time in a while. Doesn't even have to go too far to do so. Some of that, looking to catch some of these Mutas. We'll get one of them, but here we go, the big engagement. The Ultralists gonna steamroll their way through here. The Banelings just absolutely decimating this army. Now Josh is gonna be scrambling for a defense against those Ultras, but all he has is Marines. Oh, this is not going his way at all, guys. Does he have chitinous? I believe he does have chitinous. Yeah. So those guys are really just not going to be dying very quickly. Big drop going to be coming in. Trying... I mean, he's got to try something. He's just got to take the pressure off long enough to build up a good Marauder count. The Baneling's still getting some good connections is all that Oiltown really needs. Basically, Josh needs 3 or 4 perfect engagements, because I don't think he can take it just one. And the Banelings once again just going to roll in, decimating this for the final time. The Widowmines not able to get their shots off. As I think Oiltown has done it. He has broken this Terran player. Although you can see a little bit of a micro right there trying to tap him off. One small drop going to get 9 workers before getting cleaned up. Those links do not have +3 until just now. Trades out the Mutalisks, which I find interesting. Probably just trying to use that supply for something else. But yeah, he's getting cleaned up right now. We see that transition coming in for Broodlords. And Josh is kind of stuck in this mid-tier army composition. No, he's got Widowmines. That's pretty much it. The Marauders will do okay versus the Ultras, but they will melt to a surround of Lings with Adrenal Glands. And he's trying to be aggressive. I gotta give him props for still trying to be out on the map, but that might be just his killing mistake, as he has to pick up once again to get out of there. 70 more Lings on the production tab. He's taking this base. And even though Josh will kind of rotate around, just no transition at all. Couple of additional on there. He's gonna try again and again while he gets his Ghost Academy up. It's pretty much just trying to buy himself time that he does not have. As Oiltown gonna be coming in once again. The Widowmines to get some connections on the Ultralisks, but there are still too many. This base will fall. That is his main base been floated down. The SCVs are on the run. To see when the Corruptor count will start to pick up. That's going to help deal with these drops, and that's when you're going to see that big switch into Broodlords. Much just now, death by 1,000 cuts. Can't really take that fight too efficiently as Oiltown, man. Like, you do need the Banes to help kind of clean that up. So many Ultras. That is correct, sure. I don't really know what else to say about this one. It's really straightforward. If Josh can get, like, the perfect Widowmine connections, get the perfect kills on all these Ultras, then maybe he'll be okay. Oiltown doesn't really have that big of a mineral bank as he would probably like, but at the same time, Josh doesn't have a bank at all. He's sitting on so much gas that he can't really utilize. That was very expensive for Oiltown. What? Like, maybe I counted Josh out a little bit too. I still think he's in a really rough spot because, you know, obviously down over 50 supply, 117, one arm supply. But at the same time, he's still getting damage with these drops. He's still all over the place. And that Broodlord transition hasn't come in just yet. Now, keep in mind, the Ghost transition hasn't come in yet either. Did that actually get killed or canceled? No, it hasn't. He just hasn't used it just yet. You know, he's still out here on the map. He's rating a little bit inefficiently, especially not paying attention up there. Will lose a ton of units. And now I think once again, he's just been, you know what? He's been smelling blood in the water for the last 20 minutes. He's starting to wonder if there actually is any. Because it's the smell of it is just so powerful. And he's going to get this base to lift off as well. So, just like a smorgasbord of shark feeding frenzy here. Circles in and tries to finally finish off Josh. Oof. Failing connection on those SCVs would have been absolutely terrifying. But now you can't really lift off as Josh anymore. These Corruptors going to be coming in, taking down the Medivacs with the healing energy gone. Even though he will trade out these Ultras, the Lings coming in from the backfield will be enough to clean up this army. And GG is finally called.